flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Peter Somerville, Town Council.
Ed Valenti, Town Councilman. John, Town Supervisor.
Bill Ryan, attorney to the town.
Randy Bates, Town Councilman.
Victoria Creighton Township.
Okay, any audience comments at this time? Please. Jim Becker from Midtel is here.
Yeah.
You're up.
I'm up, you ready?
No
for me?
pressure.
Can I make
Whenever you're
an
ready.
introductory statement as a member of the committee to introduce Jim and what he's about to talk to us about? Is that
I
okay?
can't.
Yes.
Let's make an introduction.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Carol Ash, a resident here, and with me are two committee members of the broadband committee that you established a number of years ago, which really sort of got going strong during COVID. Hans Soderquist is our chair. He couldn't be here tonight, but he sends his regards, and I think he sent an email that has been distributed or can be distributed. Is that correct?
If he sent it today, I didn't see it.
Okay, we can go over that and compensate.
Oh, that was from the other day.
Yeah,
Is there a new email?
no,
today?
not from today. Hans just wanted you all to have the
So everybody
update
has
of
a
where
copy
we
of
are,
that
so
email
everyone
from
has a
from
copy.
Tuesday,
All right.
I believe.
With me as members of our committee are Catherine Siculi and Bob Scardamalia. And I have to say that as a committee of four, a volunteer committee of four, we've been working quite
Hard.
diligently over the last 3 years. The goal, of course, is to bring broadband to every home in Rensselaerville, and that has been our goal from the beginning. There has been federal money and county money that has been available to be able to hook up the homes. Thus far,
Have no homes been hooked up.
no, they have been. Homes have, with the first rounds of money about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Then there is a second, well, that's what we're here tonight to talk about. Because the county, we should give great thanks to, because the county has been working with us over the last 2 years to put out RFPs to be able to connect the homes of Rensselaerville to broadband. There are two major suppliers, or what they call providers, of broadband for Rensselaerville. One of them is Mid-Hudson Cable, which essentially covers the south end of the town, and the other is Midtel, which covers the north end of the town. And Jim is here as president of Midtel to talk to us about a next step, perhaps, and what is now on the, while we're here tonight to talk about a new proposal that the government is putting out. The work that has been done so far with both Midtel and Mid-Hudson has resulted in a contract being signed with Mid-Hudson so that all of the homes on the south end of the town will get broadband probably by the end of the year. They are in a contract has been signed, the money is moving, and it is between Mid-Hudson Cable and the county. The county is using ARPA funding, which was put together years ago as part of the COVID recovery. Those are the funds that are being used. There's no indication that they will not be available for continued application and installation of broadband. So the infrastructure is in place and I think the contract is now in place for the south end to be hooked up, and people should start seeing the Mid-Hudson Cable trucks looking at the telephone poles, doing the initial work that they need to do in order to get people hooked up to, or at least available, if they want to be hooked up to broadband by the end of the year. So that's up, that's doing, and I have to say the county has been extraordinary in its response to us. And they have made sure that a portion of their funds have gone to Rensselaerville for hookup. And they were very specific that they wanted Rensselaerville to be hooked up. Now we get to the hard part, which is there's 30 miles of Rensselaerville roads that were not able to be covered by the contract that Mid-Hudson has gone into, because in part, the area that is to be covered by the 30 miles are really mostly Mid-Tel's already infrastructure geography. And so if you think of the town, the north side and the south side will be done by Mid-Hudson. The north side has about 30 miles that we still need a contract and we still need infrastructure to get to. And that is what Jim Becker is here to talk to us tonight about. One of the reasons that we are here tonight is because the Connect All, which is the state government office that dispenses the money and the RFPs and gets everything going, just sent out another RFP or announcement last week saying that there is more money available, different kinds of strings attached, and Jim will go through that with us, but there is more money available to connect maybe the 30 miles that have not yet been connected or have a contract for connection. And so that's what Jim is going to talk to us about tonight.
Has Connect All given Rensselaerville or the providers any money for Rensselaerville?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, they have in the last round of grants.
okay.
and in part, that's where the county money has come from as well. So, the system that you set up with the committee, John, has been working elegantly. There are meetings that happen almost every 2 weeks. There are contracts. There are people who talk to each other. Each of our elected officials has been extremely responsive to us. And we thank them as well. And I am sure that as we move forward, one of the things that we are going to need is to wrap in our new state senator, Pat Fahey, so that she knows what's going on and she can help us maybe recoup some of the monies. So let me turn it over to Jim, and then we can all chat.
Great. Nice job, Carol, with that background. I'm going to be talking through these points on the sheet here. And I thought it'd be great if you guys had something in hand. So, again, Carol did a nice job right there. Part of probably why we're here and the group is here is with the county's help, we did do a round 3 grant application, and the state eventually turned that down or said no to that grant. And we thought after the 3 rounds of grants that was it. Because with the ARPA funds, things have to be spent by the end of 2026. And with the amount of time that's left now till then and sort of the projects and the time it takes to build these things now, it's tight. So we've got a round 2 grant that we're doing with the county in Schoharie, and it's a $30 million project, and it's busy, and we're going to be tight with the window of time there. So we were shocked when round 4 was announced. I think a week and a half or so ago, maybe, or so. Had no idea it was actually coming. And it's, as you'll see here on the sheet, $50 million, but you can do up to 10 per project or application.
What does MIP stand for?
The Municipal Infrastructure Program. And why that's important is these grants are more geared to give to a county or a town than it is to a private entity like us. And actually right now in the landscape, in the taxing landscape, we can't take a grant, or we don't want to take a grant straight through because we have to pay a 21 21% tax on that grant. So, you know, it's hard for us to take those grants in now. So that's why the state did this. So they're trying to grant the funds right to a county, right to a town, right to an IDA or something like that. So it's a quick overview here on the round 4, and it's not an easy one. And I'm just going to be blunt and honest about it throughout this, but application is due in about 2-ish weeks. That's a very tight time frame.
And who's doing the application?
It would have to be the town in conjunction with an engineering firm and us.
So that's not gonna happen.
That's definitely a hurdle for sure.
So,
If there is an interest, once we get through this, we can ask the state for an extension. I serve on the Broadband Advisory Council for the state, so I have a direct line to them. We can ask them. I don't know if it's a yes or if it's a no, but we should probably run through the rest of this because you may or may not want to even get to that point there.
Jim, if I
Sure.
can interrupt for 1 second.
this
The
was
reason-
announced 1 week ago?
A week and a half ago, yeah, but, the reason why, in fact, it is doable, is because Jim has already done the preliminary work. Midtel has already done the preliminary work of knowing the streets, knowing the roads, knowing where his infrastructure already is, and because he put together a proposal for the last round of grants. The work is done except for the engineering part, which an extension could be asked for.
Carol, I'm not trying to be
I
difficult,
understand.
but this is the 25th. You
John-
can't even get an engineer to return a phone call by the 25th.
So we have done the work from the round 3. So we have the data, we have an engineering firm. There are some costs involved with that, like as well. I know it's a heavy ask, right? I'm just here to share the information, the data on it, but I understand from a timeline, and probably when we get through a little bit more of this, there are some hurdles. But a lot of the work has been done because of the phase 3 stuff.
Okay, so
We work pretty closely with Mid Hudson. We work hard not to step on their toes. They work hard not to step on ours. We share a bunch of information, so we know where they are or where they are planning to build.
And very frankly, if the notice had come out sooner, we would have been here sooner.
I'm sure
This is
Yeah.
as quick as we could get here, given when the notice came
it's
out.
not on you.
I understand that. I
I'm
want
just
everybody
stating
to
a fact.
understand.
I also want to mention, everybody's at risk of whether this money is even here anymore.
Kathy, I can't even hear.
If you know what's going on with the federal government and everything is being paused and pulled, I think that this is going through fast because they know they have some money left in the funding. They need to spend it by the 26th on broadband. The BEAD broadband money, which is another whole pool of broadband, was put on pause recently. I don't know from the federal government. It's on pause because of Mr. Musk wants to include Starlink into the bidding process of that. So I have a feeling that the reason it's so fast and moving fast is they're afraid it's gonna be taken away.
Because they don't want it to get accomplished. But
Yeah,
anyway,
And
I'll let
nonetheless,
you-
it's our obligation to bring it to you all
Okay.
and to
Yes.
work as hard as we can in order to do something.
and you've been doing a great job. I was excited to hear the beginning. I see
Yeah,
April
well, now
25th,
we're
I'm not
getting to the hard
excited
part.
anymore. I'm sorry.
Well, I do have to say, this is the best group that we actually worked with. We've been working on this, well,
3
a
years.
little longer
Years.
for us because of other stuff, but we've been working on this for a while for sure. But this group is the most like dedicated, the most, yeah, it's been a good group.
All right. Well, I'm
For
sorry. I
sure.
interrupted.
No, that's
I
okay.
just wanted to
Please do.
clarify
Please go
because I
through.
missed-
Yeah. So just from a high level, right, with the MIP, it's an open access. So if it's built, we can use it, Mid Hudson can use it, XYZ Corp can come in and use it, and they would pay the town to use it, type of thing. So it allows for that. It's not just us there. Some of the responsibilities of the town I laid out here. The town would have to be the lead with the grant, on the grant application. You would want an engineering firm involved in that. It's important that it's not just us, just from a high level, that there's some money there to bring that firm in. If the award is granted, some of that money, even though, you know, it doesn't get pushed out into the grant, the engineering firm will push some of those costs out into the grant side, and you won't have to pay as much sort up front. You do run the risk, though, if you do not get the award, then you're on the hook for the full amount. You would need to assign a project manager. That would be a direct person involved in the project, and you know, they would work with the firm. They'd work with the like ISP like us. They would help keep the board informed. They'd just be the, you know, sort of the point person here, like in the town. And the funding. This is probably the biggie. We're finding with the Schoharie County project that they've set up different milestones. And so there's 4 of them, and they're set up about every 6 months. And to be able to ask for the reimbursement for that 6 months, you have to meet certain things within that milestone. The state's even saying, look, once that reimbursement comes in, it's probably 6 months before the money comes back. So now you've got another 6 months of expenses that, you know, to keep the grant sort of rolling before the funds start to come in, and then you can roll it like that. So with a working capital pool, you probably need to be able to fund about a year's worth of construction. 30-mile grant, 30-mile long grant up here, it's about 110,000 a mile now. So you're talking $3.5 million. So you're probably talking half of that, or, you know, let's round up to $2 million.
Are you talking about the town or the county?
The town would be the lead unless you can talk the county into it, but I don't think you have time to talk the county into it. The county was good to work with on the last round. They had some issues, right? Getting through just sheer sort of size of the organization and getting through some things. But yeah, I know that's a lot of money for a town. I'm just sharing the facts, right? You're going to want a working pool to carry like about a year's worth of work. Now you're probably by the time they gave you the award here, if they did, you're probably about a year and 4 months, a year and a half, sort of at the most.
So what would the town outlay be before? The grant is not guaranteed, correct?
Right.
So you lose the $25,000 or $30,000 of the engineer.
Yes.
That's
the
a
outlay.
pill that could be swallowed.
Yep.
Now, if we're gonna fund $1 million or $2 million, we can't afford to lose that.
Right.
Is
So
there a chance of us losing that?
I would say no. The only chance that you would have to lose that is if you did not get it done. If you were if the project was so far behind at the end of 2026 that the state said, we're going to recapture the funds, we're not going to do it. The state's not going to do that unless it's been a complete sort of mess, which isn't going to happen, right? But they do have language in there that says we can recapture funds if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. In our experience from the last round of grants, we were on time. We had one of the 3 grants. We were a couple months late because of National Grid make ready stuff that was trying to get done. We got an extension on that. They're saying there's none on this one because of the feds, because it's ARPA funds. But we know from the last round of grants, there was a company that got a 5-year extension to get it done. The state doesn't want like a black eye. If they give a grant award out, they don't want it to go out into the press that, you know, it wasn't a good grant award. So you run the risk of, I think at the most, the 25 to 30K. If you get the award, it's just having that loan or that bond anticipation note or something in there that can give you the funds. And then as the state refunds you, you can put that sort of back to work. But at the end of it, you should have all of the money that's part of the grant, because it's 100%.
And this is for going back for the 30 miles.
Yep.
Not for the north or the south of the town. It's for the 30 miles.
The 30 miles are in the north.
Yeah, they're mostly in the north. There's a couple little patches in the south that we would do, like you would want to do in mid Hudson would probably use those. But most of it's in the north.
You should provide us with some maps to show us where the empty spots are in the north and the south.
Yeah, we can. I think mid Hudson, I didn't bring them because they were theirs and I didn't have permission to share 'em.
From Mid-Hudson of what their existing infrastructure is, what they were approved for the bill, in the money that they got, and the 30 miles that aren't covered by anybody. So we can email those. Can I email them to you?
Yeah, that's better. I don't want to share there.
Deal forward.
And we can, if there is an interest, we would share ours as well to show you what we see. We have seen the Mid Hudson maps and we've laid them on top of ours and they're pretty close.
Okay.
Because they took a guesstimate of where we are at the moment. So they're pretty close.
What engineering firms do you work with?
The one that we've used for a long time is FAR, FARR. They're out of South Dakota, but they do this around the country. And we've had great success with them. Schoharie County is using them as well.
So Jim, you want to talk about timing per minute?
On
What we might need from the board, an expression of interest or not.
Yeah, so just let me just wrap up with this, the bottom part from a provider standpoint, from our standpoint, mostly it's what you would think, right? We would help with the design, the architecture, the map, the application, all those things. What's important to know is I know the town would not want to be the operator of the network. So somebody like us could be the operator. We're doing that in the county thing where we get paid a fee just to maintain and do all those things. But on the flip side, we would pay the town a fee to use the fiber. So the way we have it set up down there is for each home we are serving, we are leasing a strand of fiber to go to those homes. And the idea is the revenue will cover the monthly expenses because you'll have insurance. There's pole attachment agreements, which we sort of skipped over here, but you have pole attachment agreements because since the town would own it, they would have the attachment like agreements. Stuff that we could help you with. We've been doing it 100 years, right? We can help you with that, but there are some ongoing expenses. And again, the idea is make enough on the service side that it covers those expenses. And the deal we have with the county is we're going to revisit that after a couple of years of operation. It takes about 3 years to fully ramp it up. So the idea that they and we have is at that 3-year mark is to revisit the rates that we are paying them to make sure that they're not going under type of thing. And we do the same if that were the case up here. From a timing standpoint, we understand it's very short, very, very short. And we understand we just dropped a lot like on you in a short time frame, but in a relatively short term, we would need to know if the town would want to approach this. And I would say probably the quickest way to get it done would be to engage somebody like FAR and see if it's something that they could do. The other thing we could do, Tectonic was the engineering firm that the county used on that last round. It was our first experience with them. They did a decent job. I was impressed. I just don't know what their experience is after the application because I just never worked with them. So I know that it's a heavy ask and you would want to take some time, but in sort of order for it to move ahead, we would need something from the town saying we should move ahead.
All right.
But we don't need that tonight.
We don't need it right this second.
We
Jim, I have a question. Why do we need the engineering firm? That seems to be the money that could be lost, so to speak, from the town if it doesn't get through. I don't remember, the other grant having to do it. What is the purpose of the
Yeah,
engineering?
no, the other grant did, using the county paid for it, and we use them in all of our grants as well. So the engineering firm, while we have the talent to do what we do, sort of on like a local level, the engineering firm are the ones that have like the PE stamp and the credentials with this is the right design. These are how we're gonna go like out to bid. In the agreement itself, there's a lot of nuance types of things where on the bid package, the way that those have to roll out, and we don't have that expertise because we don't have to go out to bid.
I'm sorry, Jim, I can't hear anything. you're
Okay,
saying.
sorry about that.
But anyway, the board needs time. We need to speak to our attorney. We need time to discuss this.
Yep.
We don't have executive session in this agenda. So we'll do it by email or, whatever, and we'll discuss and we'll get back to you as soon as
That'd be
we.
super. And just to regroup, this is the last 30 miles, the entire of the south. end
Right,
of
but the
it.
north and
I wanna
south
see
is
where
getting
that 30
done.
miles is.
We'll send you tomorrow morning all those emails.
Okay,
And that's
all right, I'm sorry, I have to move on.
That's okay. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, we gotta continue. The March 27th public hearing, the minutes from that.
I move we accept the minutes from the March 27th regular meeting.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Pete abstains. The March 27th regular
No,
meeting.
I did the regular one.
Oh,
I move.
I'm sorry, the public hearing.
I
I'm
move we
sorry.
accept the minutes from the March 27th public hearing.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Budget modifications and transfers, there are none. I make a motion to pay all signed vouchers and bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Supervisor's report. Too bad Brian's not here, but the 2024 BOG grant awards have gone out to those entities which have provided a W-9. Those who have not submitted a W-9 will not receive funding. So, whoever applies for BOG grant money has to have a W-9, or they have to hook up with a nonprofit or a company that has a W-9. Yes,
Excuse me, is that for 2026 or?
2024.
2024?
2024.
Okay. Okay,
So 25, the grants are going out, but if you don't have a W-9, I want the citizens to know, don't bother applying because we cannot send a check. One of the,
I do have a question because, for Halls Mills Cats, we were,
so we reached out to Green, I'll tell you who it is. Halls Mills Cat doesn't have a W-9 nor anything like that.
correct.
So-
I ended up spending the money and I was gonna come up with receipts. Is that not available for me to get reimbursed?
No, that's not true.
Okay. And I.
If you have receipts,
Yes,
we can reimburse up to the
Okay, great.
amount of the award,
perfect,
but we cannot send a check prior,
correct. Great,
okay?
thank you.
Okay, so, this has been happening for years, but the Rensselaerville Senior Club does not have a W-9. So my question, Bill, and the Rensselaerville Park, of course, doesn't have, so we added to the budget another $1,000 or another $1,500 that we took from the BOG fund and reimbursed the general fund. Is that legitimate?
And you're gonna pay the money.
By
that-
vouchers?
Okay, you're gonna pay the money that you transferred to these two clubs? Well, excuse me, to the Rensselaerville Senior Club and the Rensselaerville
By
Park.
voucher. we're not sending them a check.
It's fine.
Fine, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's how that's gonna work. You know, for years, we've been sending the senior club money, but that's not legitimate. Because we have no idea what they're doing. We're responsible for the money. We can't just send clubs money without,
I understand.
all right? You have questions? You look like you do. No, we're good? Okay. Okay, we took $79,956 from the water district to replenish the general fund for 2024. So the water district does not owe the general fund any more money. So that's cleared up. This is the exciting part. I met with, Doug, Parvis from Hilltown Commons, Jesse James, Gus. We'll just leave it at Gus.
Who's Jesse James?
Not an outlaw.
It was a great conversation. They are redoing the Palmer House, which is now gonna be called the Union Hall. A couple of homes in Russellville, and I felt like we had a good conversation about,
Commons?
Hilltown Commons, what's Route 6?
Yeah.
Mary Michael.
Huh?
Be
Mary
golden.
Michael.
Be Golden.
Yeah, Big
Be
Golden.
Golden Farms. Be Golden Farms. There's another music thing,
Velvet Earth.
Velvet Earth, which is sad that as town board members, we don't even know these
I don't
businesses.
even know what they do, yeah.
They throw music events once a month.
Velvet.
Velvet Earth Farm.
So the conversation went as such is that it'd be wonderful that, you know, with Q-Bar Market and all these things, these separate entities, we could visit them and spend money there and have a beer there and support the local businesses. But one of my big issues was we don't even know that they're there. You know, and somehow they've got to reach out to the town folks.
Can I add something to that? We need
Yeah.
to readdress the Hilltown Commons thing, because those are individual vendors up there making money. But why are they tax exempt up there?
They're not.
They're not.
They're not?
No, we have a for-profit for the club operations.
Very good.
We pay taxes.
Yes.
Because they used to be, I mean, but it switched over, huh?
Yeah, Be Golden Farms now opened their own building,
Yeah.
which I think, John, is the first new building and new business in a
In
long
30
time.
years,
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah, in 30 years. And now we have an in-house part-time shop.
That's good. That's good.
So I want to go visit them and Be Golden Farms, they had it at the Hilltown Commons.
They were our partner then, because as we were first opening up,
Right.
we didn't have staff or capacity
Right.
to do it. So it was, we did beer and liquor through our liquor license, and they did the food. Now we have a chef who does, so we're doing the food and beer and wine. Be Golden Farms is open on Fridays and Saturdays, and takeout only on Thursdays. Yeah, and it's a beautiful building. Go see Mary Michael and Patrick.
It's exciting to see this happen and
Yeah.
I believe we should visit there and
Class act.
class up.
That's what we need.
And Jesse James, even with the
The Palmer House.
Palmer House,
No gunslinging in the street.
None. He's not an outlaw.
No, it's a
He's
good
not
thing
well-
for Rensselaer.
He's not an outlaw like the famous
Oh,
Jesse or infamous Jesse James.
like his uncle? Okay, so,
Yeah.
which brings me to, this is further down in the agenda. But the Main Street revitalization project is a grant that's available
500,000.
to main streets in Rensselaerville. And why I'm excited about this, because we have a resolution to allow Hilltown Commons to apply for this, maybe I'm not, and help out Jesse and Gus and other businesses on Main Street. And if it works, I want to do it again in Potter Hollow. That'll give us money to try to revitalize those other main streets, if you will. Okay, so that's my report.
You want to vote on that now, that resolution?
It's further in the agenda. I don't know, should we?
No, wait.
Okay.
I move we accept the supervisor's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The accountant, there is no report. I didn't look through
There's
this.
a written report,
Huh?
a written report. That was just a budget, so no report.
All right, just the budget versus actual, but that's all. The attorney report.
Just two quick items. As John mentioned, the resolution supporting the grant for Main Street has been prepared. It's in your packet for adoption later. And I've drafted the letter to the Gilmores for the sewer easement.
The sewer easement from Magic Gilmore?
Great.
Okay, we're sending him a letter to ask his
Blessing.
blessing. Yeah.
That's it.
I move we accept the attorney's report.
I'll second it. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Highway recycling?
Highway report short tonight, since we have the highway agreement later in agenda. Everything at the recycling center continues to run smoothly. We have had no issues there. As far as the highway report, the only the major problems we have now, truck 07, the transmission is on its way out. It's down to W&W transmission. They recommend a complete transmission replacement. So I have reached out and received 3 different quotes. W&W is the cheapest. We're going to move forward with replacement of that transmission. Total job with clutch and slave cylinders will be around $11,000. So, but it's a good truck, and kind of just have to deal with it. So, outside that, we've been sweeping roads, cleaning up roadside. We're still been dealing with a little bit of winter weather here and there, maybe possibly tonight. Next week, we hope to spoke with Jason Wayman. We're going to borrow their dozer for a week, and we're going to start putting some shale on a few of these soft spots, dirt roads. So that's the game plan. And we'll go over the highway agreement later in the meeting.
Make a motion, we accept the.
All in favor? Aye. Vicky?
Thanks. The numbers for the month of March, building department, took in a lot of money to get the records and set, and she's been here. As far as the town clerk's department goes, tax collection is just about over. We no longer allowed by law to collect after March 31st. But we do have to honor the postmark of March 31st, so I'm waiting until probably Monday. I'll give it a solid 2 weeks for anybody that's postmarked their payments on March 31st to get here. And then I'll be wrapping up that package for 2025. Just a few things of interest as far as tax collection. The town keeps the penalties, and we're up about $500 over last year. Penalties this year are about $5,600. Last year about. Percentage collected. This year we're at 85. Last year we were at 86. So that's right in line of kind of where it's been. And online payments have gone up from 221 to 258. So people are utilizing that a little bit more than they were prior. And that's looking good. Everything everything's great in that department. And that's it.
Vicky, when they pay online, they pay with a credit card,
Credit card, e-check, debit card,
but we get the full tax amount.
of course.
Like if there's
Yes.
credit card fees, they pay.
Credit card fees go to the credit card, the vendor that we work. We do not see that.
Right.
We do not get.
That's my question, okay. Good.
I move we accept the town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Code enforcement, I'm just gonna read this, his permit. The valuation, for building permits and new construction has gone up $982,000, and he collected $6,919 in fees, which is, a nice sign showing that people are, moving into the area or increasing the value of the area. On a note of that, I got together with Andrew Clark, and he's gonna provide us with a violations list and update it, and me and Andrew are gonna go through it once a week. Tim is updating it, so if there's any issue, I didn't like the idea that we, to us individually, and we don't know what's going on.
Correct.
So this will be more
This
transparent.
gives us a way to keep track of it.
That's right. So that's the reason for that. So there really is, I mean, I'll make a motion to accept his, report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There is no assessor report, right? Okay, no report. Water sewer, Mr. Sukas.
Good evening. Just two topics covered tonight. And I know this just sounds like administrative business, but it's important for the town to be aware of this administrative order that we got from the EPA, and that we're doing our best to keep up with our obligations and the compliance to that administrative order. So back on the 15th, we presented a draft to the EPA about an addendum, for an addendum to the original submission we did back in 2024 to install a tank, a mixer in the storage, the water storage tank. On the 26th, Albany County Department of Health came back with questions about our addendum. And we asked for 60 days to re-up our submission because there's quite a bit of technical research that needs to be done. And, well, being volunteers and not meeting that often, we need the additional time. Now, that isn't really defying the EPA, the compliance order. They asked us how much more. We gave ourselves enough buffer time to comply. So doing, we will be reporting. Now have to, as part of the compliance plan, we have to report to the EPA on a quarterly basis where we are in our compliance project. So this is, you know, significantly serious. There is a financial obligation, or I should say, you know, penalty if we don't keep up our side of the plan, if you will. So I just want to keep that as something that's understood and how important it really is. Now, to move from the negative to the positive, I'm very excited to announce that the Water District published a request for qualifications for engineering services for the construction project to upgrade the infrastructure of the water system. It was released on Tuesday. Notification is posted on the Rensselaerville website. Engineering firms that we have not contacted can request the RFQ by using the email address that's posted on the website. It's listed on the New York State Contract Reporter website, which most engineering firms should be familiar with it and can access it there. And a public notice is published in the Altamont Enterprise, in fact, today, right? Thursday, right? So it's important to note that this is not a request for a proposal. It's not a request for a quote. We've already done that work. We hired an engineering firm to develop the remember that, the preliminary engineering report, which subsequently turned into the grant funding that we received an eligibility letter for from the EFC for $1.7 million and change in a grant award and over 750 in loan-free, interest-free finance. Again, what's important to remember is we have to nail down an agreement with the town and the EFC to actually get those funds by September 2026. I know that sounds like a long time from now, but it will go quickly. And so one of the requirements that we're making of the engineering firm that gets selected is that they will have to help us. We expect them to help us through this this process of getting the project finance agreement completed, the PFA, that you, Mr. Supervisor, will be signing. Yes. So that's pretty exciting news. So the responses are due back May 7th. We'll take the rest of May to review the responses along with your help, John. And then we hope to make a selection for an engineering firm in June and July of this year. So that's it. I can't believe we got here, but we're here.
Can I ask a couple questions? Can I ask a couple?
Yeah,
questions?
sure.
What is the engineer that's selected going to do a map plan report for the improvements that you're contemplating for the water district?
They're responsible to do the design, manage the project. I like the terminology you just used. It's not part of my vernacular, but yes.
And they'll come up with the total cost, correct?
Well, the cost, we're expecting them to do the project for the cost that the PER projects. So the PER came out with a 2.5 and change million estimate for what the work would require to be would be.
So the anticipation, this engineering firm that you select for the design is going to come in at a number within the PER report, correct?
We're not actually asking them for a quote. This is a request for qualifications. The way this goes is that they already know what their budget is. They already know how much we have been offered for funding this project. We haven't told and don't plan on telling them that we have any more money than that. So that is part of the requirement of the RFQ, that they readily accept the fact that that's the cap of our funding capability for the project.
The point I'm trying to make is the funding that you just mentioned is going to be the cost.
Sure. Okay, yes.
Okay.
Now, the way projects go, they get delayed, there are changes requests, things do happen, but we're going to start with the number that we know we have available to us.
And so when this other report is done by the engineer that's selected, that's when we'll do the paperwork for the 202B.
I don't know if that has to happen before or after the PFA is signed off on.
No, that would be done before and
Okay.
then the PFA,
Okay.
because they're going to want to see the resolution.
Ah,
Meaning.
That
the,
makes perfect sense.
the-
Yeah. Okay.
That agency.
Okay. EFC.
Yeah. today for another municipality that we represent.
Good. Any questions?
That's it.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin.
I move we accept the water sewer committee report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, old business. There's copies of the awarded bids, which I'm definitely not reading. But there's copies for anyone, any citizens that would like them. It's for the highway, the mowing, the portalettes. So, I'll make a motion to award all bids for the highway materials, portalettes, mowing, recycling, refuse hauling as highlighted on the spreadsheets.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, on the new business.
Can I see this?
Sure.
I didn't get one.
Take them. The 2025 highway agreement. Jason, how do I do this?
Well, first page just goes over the funding sources, where the funding is coming from. We rolled over $114,000 from the CHIPS program. If the funding is assumed that the state, when the state budget passes, remains the same, which is what is anticipated, will leave us with a total of $382,000 for the CHIPS program. Paved New York, $61,000, extreme winter recovery, $54,000, and pave our potholes, $41,000, giving us a grand total from the state of $539,000. Town of Rensselaer Road Materials Fund is $220,000, which gives us a total available funds of $759,557. The actual highway agreement breaks down every road. We can go over it if you'd like, but it covers 4.9 miles of asphalt resurfacing for a cost of $475,685. 4.5 miles of single chip seal, which is an asphalt preservation process at a cost of $88,000. 1 mile of improvement of, which would be Pucker Street, from dirt to double chip seal, cost of $66,000, and 4.2 miles estimated of crack sealing at a cost of $20,000. The total improvements costing $650,000, $480. $9,000 for general repairs, including culverts and shoulder material and paving, patching, and any other. So if we go to the next page, within this agreement, this would include paving Rooney Road, length of 1.2 miles with 2-inch overlay type 6 asphalt. Kenyon Road, 0.96 miles of that, also a 2-inch overlay. Gifford Lane, a 1.5-inch overlay. Rug Road would be a 2-inch overlay. Smith Road, it's listed here as a 2-inch overlay, but there's going to be some additional work that needs to be done there as well. I'll update the 284 highway agreement when we do that, but there's some sections of that road that are in pretty poor condition. We're not just going to do an overlay on it. Kings Lane is just the hill off of Bates Hollow Road. It's deteriorated pretty poorly. And Albany County is going to be paving the county road right there, so we're hoping we can have the contractor just swing in there and put a couple of loads of blacktop on Kings Lane. Lake Road and Bryan Road are both roads that were paved with binder last year. They will receive a single chip seal as a to seal them up. Number 9 is Johnny Cake Road. That will receive a single chip seal. That's a motor paved road that has a couple little potholes and it's starting to coat on a little bit. Wilsey Road would be a single chip seal. That's a road that we crack sealed last year. It's a high volume road. It's also very in an attempt to preserve the road surface. I'd like to put a single chip seal on this road. Saybrook Valley Road is a road that was done with baby binder, was also, never sealed up. And it's starting to show some wear, so I'd like to put a single chip seal on that road. And Bucker Street would be the first mile of Bucker Street, be an improvement with, 6 inches of ground road millings, and a double chip seal, like similar to what we did on Camp Winnisaki Road, which is held up very well. And the last listed is crack sealing. This is an estimate, but, so I would be hopeful that we could do Gifford Hollow Road, Stevens Road, Methodist Hill Road, McCulloch Road, and Fleming. All that accomplished. I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts or.
We need a motion to accept.
Yeah. So the motion, there's two. The motion is the town board accepts, the town board approves the section 284 agreement. And the second motion is that the town board authorizes the supervisor to sign the section 284 agreement. So first motion, the resolution, the town board approves the section 284 agreement between the town of Rensselaerville and the town of Rensselaerville Highway Department.
So moved.
We got a second?
All in favor?
Need a second.
Second.
Oh, I thought pizza.
I did.
All in favor? Aye, motion carried.
And the town board authorizes the supervisor to sign the 2025 section 284 agreement. We need a motion. Okay.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Randy second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I'll sign. Okay, moving on. We have to advertise for a highway employee. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize, Jason to have Vicky advertise for a highway employee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. We got a letter from a citizen, which we were gonna continue this year, but I would like to get authorization to get quotes for paving of the parking lot and the recycling area. Last year, we just did the front and around the side, and part two was,
Yeah, we discussed last year that this area behind us would be done this year.
yeah, so we'd like to get, an authorization to get quotes for it.
Yeah, may I speak? That's gonna be over 20,000, so it's gonna have to go to public bid. So we'll have to put together a bid spec. If the board has interest in it, my recommendation, of course, Randy, you can chime in if you have a different recommendation, would be a simple 2-inch mill and fill, mill out what's there, put in 2 inches. But if the board has interest, I will put together the bid spec for that, and we can move forward.
We have interest, so I'll make a motion to have Jason put a
Prepare a bid specification.
prepare bid
That's right,
specification for the parking lot by the recycling center.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is the resolution for Main Street. Bill, do I have to read this one?
No. This resolution simply states that you as the town board approve and endorse the 2025 New York Main Street Program for Assistance prepared and to be submitted by Hill.
Okay. I make a motion to accept this resolution, and then we need individual.
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay. So I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're good. I'd like,
Bill, We don't need a roll call on that. Resolution.
Well, it's not for an expenditure of money. If you want to do it, that's fine. Go ahead, do the roll.
John Dolce's aye. Randy Bates.
Aye.
Pete.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Brian's absent. All right. So Doug,
Yes,
just to ask, so now what's your next steps with this?
we're working with Patrick Chacone, and the grant has not even been presented yet by New York State. We anticipate that that's gonna happen in May. And then we are gonna do everything we can to win that grant for Gus and Jesse, because they've invested a lot of money into revitalizing Main Street on their own, and up to $500,000. And then John, like you talked about, we want to continue doing this with other main streets and helping people and getting these main streets looking good, and more businesses, more jobs, more coffee shops.
Yeah.
That
Less
kind of-
blight.
Less blight, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Doug. All right, what Bogue grant application I discussed earlier, saying that, the applications are online on our website. And, I mentioned, and, they're open, right? That's. Okay, so, that was just a point of conversation. So Vogue, as a matter of fact, out of Vogue's, out of the money, we only issued $5,465. So,
Because that's all the applications are worth.
And you'll have some receipts being turned in.
yeah,
On top of
we
that.
have certain applications, well, we've had no receipts.
But you
Now,
will have some
that Kathy said that, of course, will reimburse
in the park.
and the park. Yeah, I just want to put it out there because of the W-9s make it very hard. And we've reached out to people, and I don't want to reach out anymore. I want them to give us a W-9 with their applications. Make it very simple.
Anybody can fill it out.
Yeah, so then, but we just need that. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they break the law, it's on them.
But John, is it for an organization or a person? I mean, W-9 can be a federal ID, it can be your social security. So some of these, is it clear on the application that's,
Well,
these are due?
the
for-
guidelines for the application saying you're gonna do something good for Rensselaer.
Right,
So I'm not gonna, and we're gonna review that.
but
Right.
it says on the application, if you go online, and they're due on May 15th, so everybody knows, and we have to remind all the fire companies and everybody else who. I'm on that PUHART committee also, besides the broadband committee. But it says on the application that the W-9 with an organization. So I posed that question to Rosie, and she said that they're maybe looking into what happens if, that wipes out Halls Mills Cats and the beautification committees, because we aren't an official, nonprofit. We're just a group of people trying to make a difference. And in the previous last year, it was like, oh, you get the grant and then you can be reimbursed. If you have to submit a W-9.
Or receipts.
Okay, so the application isn't really clear on that, if you want to just review it. So that they know that they can submit a receipt. I don't want people to think they can't apply, is what I'm trying to say.
But I also don't want people, this is gonna sound rude, but people have to use common sense. Okay, I'm not gonna spell out every single thing on the application, because last year's application, we changed all that because there were so many gray areas and loose areas. The same thing now, either they're gonna send an application to a committee. So if Joe Schmo sends it to you and you review it, and he wants $1,000 to get rid of tires on his property, I don't think that's a legitimate claim.
No, it's
Do
gotta be
you?
public.
I'm sorry?
It's gotta be for public,
It's for public,
for the benefit of the town.
for the benefit of the town, so.
Right, but say in Medusa's beautification committee, it's a small group of people who
It was
have,
$300
right,
and they didn't give us any receipts.
because we kept asking if the grant money was going, they were nervous that it wasn't gonna come out, so that's why they didn't. That's, and probably why you only spent 5,000, because a lot of people were afraid to spend money, not knowing if the grant was real or not.
The grant was real, but we went through a lot of hoops to get us to be able to spend the funds.
Right, and it took a
So,
long time,
It was never a question.
Well, people didn't know that. They really didn't.
Then
would
they should
call
listen
us
to our
out.
on board meetings, because I brought it up every meeting probably for 10 months. I mean, what more can we do? We don't have a newsletter. It's word of mouth.
If
that
they
we-
were on an application, you could at least have emailed or written to them to let them know, and so that people weren't calling up here asking. And it was only, well, we're waiting, there's might be a board meeting or that kind of thing. I don't know,
I've
just-
had a lot of,
I just want to know, for instance, the Medusa group, who's gonna fill in a W-9? Who will fill in a W-9 for?
I could give you a list of who did.
But is it a personal, it'll be a personal, not a group, right?
Medusa Beautification Committee, I sent a W-9 to Green Bee Greenhouse. No response. Friends of Conklin Hall, W-9. Ian Hike Preserve, W-9. Rensselaerville Historic Society, W-9. Rensselaerville Rural Cemetery, W-9. The Library, W-9. Clark White Post, W-9. Clark White, again, W-9. Rensselaerville Fire Company, W-9. Medusa Cemetery, no W-9, but a W-9 is not required for a cemetery. Tri-Village Fire Department. Rensselaerville Playground, we put in the budget. Rensselaerville Senior Citizens, we put it in the budget. Potter Hollow Union Church, that's in Potter Hollow, but yet they have an address in Acre, no response. Potter Hollow, Rosie's working with them. Halls Mills Cat. There's nothing from them because it's an individual person. It was $600. I said $300. So, but by all means, we were gonna make that check out to the veterinarian.
Right, which I have all the receipts for Scruff and Animal Kind, and every time we went, I have all those. So I'll bring those up and see if I can get reimbursed for it.
But of course you can get reimbursed. If it's legitimate and it's part of this, you'll get reimbursed.
I'm just questioning the not W-9 in that there will be people who say for the beautification committee, I'm not on that, but will they still be able to apply? Because that's what I'm asking, I'm getting questions. It says it's for an organization, so can we even apply anymore?
But you're on the committee. You know the answer to that.
No, I don't. The committee was not involved in coming up here and asking, and there's a lot of, we were never been brought, as a committee, we haven't been brought into this quite often.
Well, then-
No. And granted, Rosie is doing her best to communicate and find that out. I'm just asking a question. It was a legal question. What do you tell, you have 4 people, they want to do, 4 or 5 people on this. And who fills out the W?
They just bring the receipts.
Okay.
But you're asking me to redo the application, and I'm not willing to do that.
Okay.
I just don't have enough time. So being a committee member, please share that with people. But if they ask for $1,500 for something, either they get receipts or they give us a W-9. We're gonna reimburse. but we're not gonna send a check for the full amount.
Correct. Legitimately so. Okay. I
I'm not
just
hearing you
thought
too
I
good.
report back to
I'm-
the people involved who are asking.
And the work has to be done too. You don't reimburse until the work is done.
That's part of the, well, that's another messed up thing. Because that's another issue we have, which in the application, it says that whatever money they had last year, Kathy, whatever money they got last year, they're supposed to prove to the committee that they did what they said they're gonna do. Right?
Yes, but no one was even told that the grants were approved until 2025. We've been.
All right, I guess this is.
It was a
it's-
miscommunication, but no one even thought that maybe the money wasn't even coming,
We'll figure it out.
okay? So just be upfront.
Oh, well, we are upfront and honest.
Yeah, really. We'll figure it out, so it works for you. You know? That's-
So for the people who want to apply,
I can't hear her. Can you tell me what she said?
She just said she wanted to know, so. Insurmountable, you know,
Okay,
do what you gotta do and you'll get paid. And we'll figure it out.
so was that audience comments?
That was it.
Any audience comments?
That was it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, everyone.